Hello, everyone. I'm Jenna Tang. I translate from Chinese and Spanish into English. I'm also Alta's 2021 Emerging Translators Mentorship Program mentee. Today, I'd like to share my sample translation of Taiwanese author Lin Yi-Han's debut novel, Fang Siqi's First Love Paradise. Fang Siqi's First Love Paradise is one of the most influential novels in Taiwan as part of the Me Too movement. The novel breaks the tradition of fictional form, and especially the unspoken nature of a harmful narrative. The book features beautiful prose with dark and groundbreaking use of lines from Chinese literary classics, amplifying the importance of discussions around sexual violence. Lin Yi-Han, the author of this novel, passed away in 2017. This is her debut and final work, and the book is currently seeking an English-speaking publisher. As an emerging translator, I hope that through my reading, I'm able to let her voice be heard internationally, as a way for both of us to emerge together in the world of literary translation. I'd like to thank Yi-Han's family for giving me a chance to read excerpts from her work. I'll be reading in both Chinese and English from the end of the first chapter, titled Paradise. 是阳明山什么湖派出所打来的，搭计程车上山，心跟着山路蜿蜒，想象山跟圣诞树是一样的形状。小时候跟房思琪踮起脚追钓星星，假期过后最象征性的一刻。思琪在山里，派出所。怡婷觉得自己的心踮起脚来，下了车，马上有警察过来问她是不是刘怡婷小姐。是，我们在山里发现了你的朋友。怡婷心想，发现，多不祥的词。警官又问，他一直都是这样吗？他怎样了吗？派出所好大一间，扫视一圈没有思琪，除非那个是他。思琪的长头发缠结成一条一条，盖住半张脸，脸上处处是晒伤的皮屑。处处蚊虫的痕迹，脸颊像吸奶一样往内塌陷，肿胀的嘴唇全是血块。它闻起来像小时候那次汤圆会所有的皆有体味的大锅汤。天哪，为什么要把它铐起来？警官很吃惊地看着他，这不是很明显吗，同学？怡婷蹲下来，撩起他半边头发，他的脖子折断似歪倒，瞪圆了眼睛，鼻涕和口水一起滴下来。房思琪发出声音了，哈哈。It was from a police station at some lake at a Mount Yangming 2 hours away from the city. Yiting took a taxi up the mountain, her heart winding like the paths that led to the station. She thought the shape of the mountain looked like a Christmas tree. As children, they had always stood on their tiptoes to grab the star from the top of the tree. It had been one of the things she remembered most from vacation. Siji was on a mountain in a police station. Yiting felt her heart standing on its tiptoe. When she got out of the taxi, the police officer quickly approached and checked if she was Miss Liu Yiting. Yes, we found your friend up on the mountain. Yiting thought, found. What an ominous word. The police asked, has she always been like this? What's going on with her? The police station was huge, and Yiting couldn't locate Siji just by looking around. Unless that was her? Siji's hair was clouded together, covering half of her face. Her face was flaking from sunburn and bitten all over by mosquitoes and bugs. Her cheeks sank inward, her lips swollen and scared. Siji smelled like one of those homeless people they had met during the Lantern Festival. So many years ago. Oh my gosh, why didn't they handcuff her? The police looked at her with surprise and said, isn't it obvious? Yiting squatted and brushed the hair away from one side of Siji's face. Siji's neck looked like it was about to crack in half, her eyes wide open, the mucus and saliva dripping onto her clothes. Just then, Fang Siqi blurted out, "Ha ha!" 医生的诊断刘怡婷听不清楚，但她知道意思是思琪疯了。房妈妈说，当然不可能养在家里，也不可能待在高雄。大楼里医生就有几个，也不能在台北。自由班上好多父母是医生，折中了，送到台中的疗养院。怡婷看着台湾，他们的小岛被对折，高雄、台北是风，台中是谷。而思琪坠落下去了，她灵魂的双胞胎。怡婷常常半夜惊跳起来，泪流满面地等待隔墙闷哼的夜哭。房妈妈不回收思琪的东西。学期结束之后，怡婷终于打开隔壁思琪的房间，她摸思琪的陪睡娃娃，粉红色的小绵羊，摸他们成双的文具，摸学校制服上绣的学号，那感觉就像扶着古迹的围墙白日梦时突然摸到干硬的口香糖。那感觉一定就像在流利的生命之演讲里突然忘记一个最简单的词。他知道一定有哪里出错了， 从哪一刻开始失以毫厘，以至于如今差以千里？他们平行肩并肩的人生，思琪在哪里歪斜了？Liang Yu-Sen couldn't understand what the doctor was talking about, but she knew that it meant Siji had gone insane. Mama Fang said there was no way they could take care of Siji's needs at home, nor could they even let her stay in Kaohsiung. There were several doctors living in the same building as the family. Siji couldn't stay in Taipei either. There were too many doctor parents from the elite class she attended. Mama Fang compromised by sending Siji to a mental health center in Taichung. Eating thought about Taiwan, their island folded in half, Taipei and Kaohsiung being the peaks, with Taichung as the valley. And at that moment, Siji had fallen into the valley, Eating's soulmate. From that day on, Eating often jerked away in her sleep with tears streaming down her face, and waited to hear the weeping from the other side of the wall to echo her own. Mama Fang never even came to Taipei to gather Siji's belongings. After the end of the semester, Eating finally opened the door to Siji's room. She stroked the stuffed animal on Siji's bedside, a tiny pink sheep, touched the stationery set identical to her own, and smoothed over the school number embroidered on Siji's uniform. It felt like running her hands over the stone wall of an ancient ruin and suddenly touching a piece of hardened gum. It was like forgetting one simple word in a lecture that is life. Eating knew something had gone wrong. She wondered when their paths had started to diverge. Now they were in two completely different worlds. They used to move in parallel, living side by side, and Siji somehow took a crooked path. 刘一婷枯萎在房间正中央，这个房间看起来跟自己的房间一模一样。一婷发现自己从今以后活在世界上，将永远像一个丧子的人逛游乐园。哭了很久，突然看到粉红色脸皮的日记，躺在书桌上，旁边的钢笔礼貌地脱了帽。一定是日记，从没看过思琪笔记那么乱，一定是只给自己看的。已经被翻得软烂，很难干脆地翻页。思琪会给过去的日记下注解，小房思琪的字像一个胖小孩的笑容，大房思琪的字像抿嘴的嘴脸。现在的字注解在过去的日记旁边，正文是蓝字，注解是红字。和他写功课一样，打开的一页是思琪出走再被发现的几天前，只有一行：今天又下雨了，天气预报骗人。但他要找的不是这个，是那时候思琪歪斜的那时候，干脆从最前面读起，结果就在第一页。Eating wilted as she stood in the middle of Siji's bedroom. It looked exactly like her own. She realized that from then on, she would look like someone who had lost their child in an amusement park. Eating cried for a long time before noticing a pink notebook lying on the desk. Next to the diary was a fountain pen with an open cap. This must be her diary. Eating had never seen Siji write with such messy penmanship. It must have been something she had planned to keep private. The pages had turned soft and wrinkled from too much handling, which made it hard for Eating to just peek through. In the diary, Siji had added footnotes to diary entries she had written long ago. Little Siji's writing smiled like a fat little kid. Siji's current writing looked like a talk show host's arrogant face. She footnoted her diary pages from the past. The main content was in blue, while the footnotes were written in red, just like how Siji did her homework. The first page Eating read was written several days before Siji was found on the mountain. There was only one line. Today, it rained again. The weather report is always lying. But the sentence wasn't what Eating was looking for. She wanted to find out when things had taken a wrong turn for Siji. She decided to start from the beginning, and then she found it on the first page. 蓝字，我必须写下来，墨水会稀释我的感觉，否则我会发疯的。我下楼拿作文给李老师改，他掏出来，我被逼到涂在墙上。老师说了9个字，不行的话，嘴巴可以吧？我说了5个字，不行，我不会。他就塞进来，那感觉像溺水。可以说话之后，对老师说对不起，有一种功课做不好的感觉，虽然也不是我的功课。老师问我隔周还会再拿一篇作文来吧？我抬起头，觉得自己看透天花板，可以看见楼上妈妈正在煲电话粥，粥里的料满满是我的奖状。我也知道，不知道怎么回答大人的时候，最好说好。那天我隔着老师的肩头，看着天花板起伏，像海哭。那一瞬间像穿破小时候的洋装。他说：“这是老师爱你的方式，你懂吗？”我心想，他搞错了，我不是那种会把阴茎误认成棒棒糖的小孩。我 我们都最崇拜老师，我们说长大了要找老师那样的丈夫，我们玩笑开大了会说真希望老师就是丈夫。想了这几天，我想出唯一的解决之道了。我不能只喜欢老师，我要爱上他。你爱的人要对你做什么都可以，不是吗？思想是一种多么伟大的东西。我是从前的我的音频，我要爱老师，否则我太痛苦了。红字，为什么是我不会？为什么不是我不要？为什么不是你不可以？直到现在，我才知道是整起事件很可以化约成这第一幕，它硬插进来，而我为此道歉。In blue, I have to write this down so the ink can dilute my feelings. Otherwise, I'll go crazy. I took my essay downstairs for Teacher Lee to correct it. He took out his thing and forced me against the wall. Teacher Lee said 9 words. If that's no good, why don't you use your mouth? I spit out 6 words. I can't. I don't know how. And then he stuffed it in my mouth. It felt like drowning. When I was able to talk again, I told Teacher Lee, I'm sorry. It felt like I just failed my homework, even though it was not my homework. Teacher Lee asked if I would bring another essay to him next week. I lifted my head and felt like I could see through the ceiling. I could see my mama shooting the breeze with her friends, talking about my accomplishments at school. I know that whenever I don't know how to respond to adults, it's better to say yes. I saw the ceiling roll and tumble like ocean waves past Teacher Lee's shoulder. That moment was like accidentally ripping a dress when I was little. He said, "This is how teacher shows you he loves you. Do you understand?" He got it wrong. I'm not the kind of little kid who would mistake a peanut for a popsicle. We both worshipped Teacher Lee. We said that we wanted a husband like him when we grew up. Sometimes when the joke went on for too long, we say we wished he was our husband. After thinking for days, I figured out the only way forward. I can't just like Teacher Lee. I have to love him. Your lover can do anything to you, right? Thoughts are such powerful things. I'm a counterfeit of my past self. I have to love Teacher Lee without being too much pain. In red, why did I say I didn't know how? What if I didn't want to? What if I told you that you couldn't? I didn't realize until now that everything can be boiled down to the first scene. He forced himself inside of me and apologized for it. 一婷读着读着，像一个小孩吃饼，碎口地，再怎么小心，掉在地上的饼干还是永远比嘴里的多。终于看懂了，一婷全身的毛孔都气喘发作，隔着眼泪的薄膜茫然四顾，觉得好吵，才发现自己刚刚在压嚎，一声声嚎哭，像狩猎时被射中的禽鸟，一只只声音缠绕着身体坠下来，甚且根本没有人会猎鸭。为什么你没有告诉我？盯着日期看，那是5年前的秋天，那年张阿姨的女儿终于结婚了。艺文姐姐搬来没多久，一伟哥哥刚刚开始打她。今年他们高中毕业，那年他们13岁。故事必须重新讲过。Eating continued reading like a child nibbling on cookies. No matter how careful she was, there would always be more crumbs on the floor than in her mouth. She finally understood. Every pore on her body was suffocating, her eyes staring blankly through a veil of tears. So much noise in the room. She was bawling, wailing like a crowd shot by a hunter's arrow and falling from the sky, entangled in its own screaming. But nobody hunts crowds to begin with. Why didn't you tell me, Siji? Staring at the date, 18 saw it was 5 years ago in the fall. That year, Auntie Cheng's daughter finally got married. It was around the time when Yiwen first moved into their apartment building. It was when Yiwen started beating her. 5 years ago, Yiting and Siji had only been 13. The story needs to be told again from the beginning. Thank you so much for listening.